Hello.
No. Hey, how are you?
Hey, Fintan, how's it going?
Good. We were just getting rid of some crisp crunchy there in the background.
You
So
can munch away, I don't mind.
Ain't
I,
me.
I can't hear it. What crisps?
Some flame grilled steak from Aldi. The
No.
good stuff.
Nice. Nice one.
Have
I'm
you tried
just a
that?
simple man. I'm salt and vinegar. I don't really go for much else.
Interesting. Interesting.
Maybe some Doritos
Interesting.
flaming hot.
Yeah, Doritos are good.
Yeah, yeah, good
Let me
stuff.
see if I can sort out this background, or maybe it's better like that.
Whatever. It doesn't matter. People don't care. So where are you? You back and forth
Okay.
between Dublin and Bel and Cork or something?
Yeah, I'm back in Cork now. Was in Dublin a bit before Christmas. Just kind of changing it up a little bit.
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
getting much training done, but yeah, kind of back into the swing of it now a little bit and seeing, yeah,
Feeling
trying
it
to get
out.
fit again. Yeah, tired actually this week. It's kind of ramping back up now. So especially when you've not got the months pre-Christmas in the bank, it's rough, but getting there, I think. Like not too far off lightweight days anyway.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Yeah, yeah.
yes,
Yeah,
so there
cool.
might.
Cool. I'm excited to hear more about it. What's the kind of a initial plan of action? Then just are you kind of feeling it out to see like how rowing feels
Yeah.
again, or do you pretty fixed on what you want to do?
Um, I mean, I think definitely want to compete over the next few years, and like I want to go to LA really. Uh,
Yeah, LA would be
I
cool.
think I've decided that, but whether it happens or not is another thing. I think just gonna try and like get back to not put too much pressure on getting bigger and better, but I think um where we were in Paris was pretty, we were pretty quick. So
Yeah.
even getting back to that sort of shape, and then seeing where I can go from there in terms of improving, like whether it'll be fitness or strength or um, yeah, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Do you have a like do you guys do like benchmarking in the singles or anything like that? Do you know like do you have a kind of tangible way of tracking boat speed? Because I guess it's kind of hard with lightweights where um you can obviously increase your power by getting heavier or stronger, but you don't know if that's necessarily boat speed.
Yeah, yeah, that's the thing. I think probably probably look at like I guess you could say erg scores, but we do a lot of monitoring and training. So kind of, and we do repeat sessions a lot
Yeah.
from year to year and week to week as well. So you can kind of track how you're going based on a
Yeah.
certain session. Um, and not just the steady stuff, like we repeat intervals pretty often. Um, and yeah, kind of just getting like the physiological data from that.
Yeah, yeah.
It's cool to see now, like where I am even now compared to last year. It's not too far off, but I think um that could be a bit of, like you said, weight behind the handle. So whether that translates to boat speed, it's like
Hmm.
you never, I think it's one of those things though that you're never gonna figure it out 100%. You kind of just gotta like go with it and stick with what's working because we've done it so differently
Oh
every
yeah.
year since I would say even since before Tokyo we've approached each year pretty differently. So
Oh,
it's
cool.
a
I'd love
kind
to
of,
hear more about that.
yeah, 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 sure. Just learned that like there's no one good way really.
Yeah, I'm bad for that sometimes. I'm like, there must be one way to do everything, but at
Yeah.
the same time, I'm trying to be a bit more open, I guess. So I'd love to
Yeah,
hear.
no, I like that too. Like I like knowing there's a blueprint and what works, but I think just in terms of like life stuff, we've in the double anyway, we've both had different things going on over the last few years, so we've kind of had different approaches to the year and stuff. So it's been
Hmm.
cool. Yeah, it's actually been really good learnings. Um, and hopefully can bring some of that into the heavyweight days. But
Yeah.
yeah, time will tell.
Yeah, exciting. It's exciting. I can't wait to see the former lightweights just go and beat a bunch of heavyweights and show, I think, so many people just that you don't have to be 6'6" to go out and compete. And I think that'll be massive for the sport, seeing people that are like short beating taller people and
Yeah,
installing that belief from a young age. And I think I was guilty of that when I first started rowing. I was like, how tall do you need to be good? And I was like, anybody who I saw that was short, I was like, oh, like what height are they?
yeah.
Are they the same height as me? Then I can do it. And like the Sinkovich
Man, I was
brothers.
the exact same. Yeah.
Yeah,
I used to do
cool.
like stretches to make me taller when I was like 16. Like I need another 7 inches of height to be good at
Yeah.
this. Uh,
Another couple extra
but yeah,
vertebrae.
no, I think you're right though, because obviously historically, teams just go for the big guys,
Yeah,
and there probably
especially
hasn't
GB.
been that much incentive to like figure out even in terms of like boat rigging or
Yeah,
training. You know, you might get onto a team and the coach will say, "Oh, 160 span, um,
yeah.
whatever inboard, whatever oar length." And I think we probably do a lot of experimenting with that, and it's just something I feel anyway that hasn't been really like looked into a lot for the shorter guys.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, I think it'll be interesting to play around with that a bit more as well.
cool. Yeah, I think I heard that Paul is pretty big on that, isn't he? I guess the both of you are.
Yeah, yeah. I think we just do a lot of shifting around and trying different things. Like we definitely have a base sort of setup um, that we know we can go pretty well with. But yeah, we've definitely done a lot of testing out different rigging and different setups. And then if
What's
it all
your,
goes
can
to
I
shit,
be cheeky? Can I be cheeky and ask what your base setup is, or is it hush hush?
I don't
Yeah, okay,
know.
no, say no more, say no more.
I have to
I'm
bring
bold
out
with
the
my
measuring
questions.
tape.
Yeah.
I think we're probably a bit narrower on the span than most people.
Yeah,
And then shorter inboard and shorter um, outboard then obviously as well.
yeah,
But the arcs seem to be good when we do um, any of the biomechanics stuff. Like the arcs are always good. The lengths are pretty good.
cool.
So yeah,
Did you
I
ever
think
get, if you guys have been tinkering then, did you ever get anybody? I've heard of coaches doing this. They go at World Cups, go up to your boats and measure them when you're not there.
yeah, all the time.
Some
Yeah,
guys in like, the burglar mask on.
yeah. I mean, it's no big secret. I guess you can see the length on the sticker of our blades.
That's
So
true. But
you
yeah,
get guys coming up and looking at it and being like, "What the hell? Like women
cool.
don't row with this."
Yeah, wow.
And,
Okay, yeah.
and
Interesting. Yeah. No, that's cool. Okay, well, I'd like to get into that, but obviously we just started chatting. But thank you so much for making the time. I've been excited for this
worries,
chance
man.
to chat.
No, I think like I obviously find your stuff really interesting and like relatable as well. So it's yeah, it's cool to chat.
Cool. Well, I'm definitely clipping that and gonna be post that on the Edge Rowing website. Get done. Oh my God, I'm
Nice.
chatting so much shit already. Anyways, cool. So, Fintan, welcome to the Edge Rowing podcast. Well, actually, no, I normally welcome the listener. So, welcome to the Edge Rowing podcast. Super excited today to say that we have Fintan McCarthy as our guest. Fintan is well, I guess, forever lightweight Olympic champion, or what you would call it. Double
Sounds pretty good.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Double Olympic champion, world record holder, very, very dominant and pretty much one of the two hardest categories in the rowing scene, which is the lightweight double. We were just chatting there about everything that he does to separate himself and his crew from the rest of the world, and I'm just so excited to hear more about your story.
Yeah, thanks for having me. No, it's gonna be fun.
Awesome. Good stuff. Good stuff. So, Fintan, the kind of question I pretty much always ask everybody at the start is, what was it? So, what was it that got you into rowing, and what were the reasons for yeah starting your journey?
I guess there's kind of a long version and short version. But I think basically I did a little bit of sport when I was younger. Nothing huge. I have a twin brother as well, so he's rowing now, but back then he was sort of, doing football, doing Irish football, Gaelic football as well. And just like kind of the sporty one. So uh, I guess for a long time I just thought that was sort of his kind of thing,
Yeah.
and I just tipped away in school and um, I figured out I must be the smart one. Didn't really think much of it, and then would have done like a little bit of rowing in primary school around our town, Skibbereen. That's our rowing club, Skibbereen Rowing Club. They kind
Yeah.
of
Were you there with
they'll
the
pull
red tape?
kids. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I love that
They
video on YouTube of the O'Donovan brothers as well, where you guys used to, just for those who don't know, like you used to what race instead of a one piece, you just have the white t-shirt and then red tape around it. Is that right?
Yeah, well, we weren't quite that early days, but I think definitely the first few races that we had like like a top. There was no one pieces, literally just
Yeah.
like the singlet, like the just the sleeveless top with the
Nice.
red the streak on it. And that did us for a year or two at least. Um, but yeah, I think. Oh yeah, because we were sorry, I lost my train of thought there, but we were in
No, no worries.
so what they do is kind of they pull kids from the primary schools during the summer for about 6 weeks for about an hour a day um, during like PE time, um, just to like get people in the door. Because I guess especially in Ireland, can get so easily snapped up with the big sports like football
Yeah.
and soccer, all that all that kind of stuff. So I guess back then especially you're sort of you know uh, there probably wasn't many reasons to be exposed to rowing.
Yeah.
Um, Obviously way different now after Rio and after I guess the last few Olympics there's been a lot more interest in it, um but yeah, so we was exposed to it a little bit then and like enjoyed it,
Yeah.
got us out of school and stuff. So
Hell yeah.
it was a fun time. But then I kind of left it behind until I was about 15.
Oh yeah.
And that was when I kind of started recognizing all my pals like having something and having a thing that they were kind of excited about and like passionate about outside of school. And I was kind of just going home every day and doing my homework and then maybe like catching up with friends some evenings or in the weekends. And it was like I didn't really have anything else.
Yeah, okay.
Um, Kind of definitely saw Jake, um, growing like a community, I guess, outside school and just getting new friends. So I said I'd go down to the rowing club because that was sort of the one that I wasn't so terrible at when I was younger. Um, and then it kind of just snowballed after that. Like I don't remember there being a moment where I like committed to it, but I think it was sort of a slow um a thing of when you see the improvements and actually one thing I will say is down at the rowing club like everyone trained together, so us as like junior 14s, junior 15s were training with the seniors, like we'd go out in quads and doubles and try and race them in singles. um I remember one year we had a junior quad going and I think Gary and Shane O'Driscoll were going to under 23s in the lightweight double. So
Right.
we were always trying to like race them and train with them and it was just kind of cool because I think they were really encouraging all the seniors in the group and that's something I hadn't heard before, in sport. I was like, wow, people think I'm good at this. This is cool. Um, And I think that encouragement sort of got me to stay at least. And then, when you start seeing your erg times improving, getting a bit
Yeah, yeah.
stronger, getting faster, winning races, that kind of thing.
Any reason you
That
found
sort of,
yourself getting that progress early on? Was it just kind of a case of like showing up and enjoying it a little bit more, or any
I
sort
think,
of
I think
yeah?
I didn't really recognize like how bad I was probably because I
Oh
thought
yeah.
I was jumping maybe, it's obviously, when you're a kid, you jump like 10 or 15 seconds every 2K you do. But that was from me starting at like, I think I did like a 7:24 as my first ever 2K. And then
And then
the
what
next
age? Well,
one
like
was,
15? Was that around 15?
yeah, probably 15, 16.
Okay.
Yeah. So not great by any, by any measure. Um, but yeah, just the jumps, and then there was always a measure and someone to compare against in terms of the older guys. So and also I'm kind of rambling, but from
No,
there
not at all.
where they would have been at that age, do you know what I mean? So I knew that, say for example, Paul, he was in our club, he won the junior single championship of Ireland when he was like 15. So I already knew I was behind at that point.
Yeah.
Um, It was really about winning like national champs, I think, for at the um start of our junior days. Like it was a big thing, especially in the club. The nationals were the pinnacle, and I know you guys have the homes and stuff as well, so like we would have been knocking around at them, but the real big deal was champs and how many champs you could win. And obviously um seeing people who come before you win loads of champs, and you kind of knew where that's, I guess, how success was measured
Just
at the
starts.
club
Okay, yeah.
back then.
So you saw some other your kind of your teammates a couple years ahead of you just starting to have that success, I guess, and it just what like gave you a bit of belief, or you kind of did you feel a bit of a kind of competitive bug start to kick in? So like coming not from sports at all, like you didn't kind of have any inclination to
Yeah,
competitiveness, is that right?
I mean, I don't think it it's I think for me it wasn't competitiveness. It was more like, a bit about validation really. Like I wanted that um
Identity.
success, and yeah, to have something that I'm good at.
Yeah, yeah.
So I wanted to be good so badly.
What did you
Uh
notice changing? Did you notice anything else changing in your personality or like not your personality, but like maybe your confidence as you started to
yeah, oh,
anything?
100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely a confidence. I think um not that I wasn't outgoing before, like I still had the same friends and stuff, but I ended up getting my friends to come along to rowing then, and then my brother started, and I guess for one it just gave us all a bit of common ground.
Hmm.
And we had that camaraderie then of like, oh guys, wouldn't it be savage if we were winning nationals, and we all wanted to train a bit harder then. And then I guess outside, it just gave me something to hang on to and be like, oh yeah, I do rowing, rather than like not
Hmm.
having anything and be a bit like boring, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Like I'm sure you've been asked this question 100 times, but anything you've noticed about what's going on in Skibbereen about that's able to produce so many rows? Because there's obviously Gary and Paul, you and your brother, and then Shane, and then is there another one?
Yeah, Shane and Mark, they won the
Mark.
lightweight pair in
And what's the
2017.
population of your hometown?
Oh, I think it's like 2,000, maybe 3,000.
What? That doesn't make any
Yeah,
sense.
yeah, yeah, I know. I
Yeah, but
mean, there's probably loads of factors. One of them obviously has to be our coach, Dominic. So he's like
yeah.
our national team coach now. But
Oh, really? Okay,
when I
cool.
started, he was the club coach. So I've actually never really had anyone else as like a main coach. If we would have had a few summers as like an under 23 or something like that,
Wow.
where someone else was looking after us. But he was pretty much been our main coach for my whole career anyway. Um, and I think for one, so that's one thing. Like he would have been um big influenced heavily by like Thor Nielsen and he was always kind of going out and looking for training programs, figuring out what all the
Oh
successful
yeah.
nations were doing, and then just bringing it back to Skibbereen and cooking up his own little program and getting us racing each other. So I think that was one side of it, and then also just having um, successful athletes that we you could there's so much experience of international and national like success in the club that when you walk in you could be training next to um s- Olympic champions or world medalists. We've got I can't I don't know how many we've got now, but back in the day, I guess Eugene Coakley and Timmy Harnedy, they would have been the first guys to go to the games. And when we joined then, soon after, I think I started in 2012, and then by 2016, Gary and Paul had won silver in Rio. And they were, pretty good at the under 23 level as well. So just just kind of training around them and seeing what they do, it just made it very tangible that if we
Yeah.
just do this, it could be, it could go well for us. So I
Wow.
think that was probably part of it too.
Awesome. And then okay. So when did you first start to think about maybe you want was it Rio seeing the Gary and Paul getting silver that made you think,
Mm.
right, I maybe want to shoot for a little bit more than national titles?
Yeah, I think to be honest, before that, I always kind of knew that I wanted to take it as far as I could.
Right. Oh, you always
I
so like what like from the point kind of 15 coming into it, you had that idea?
Yeah, I
Right.
think I remember going for a row once in a double with one of the guys, and we actually said, "Oh, we should probably like try and go to Tokyo." This was in like 2013 or 2014. We thought probably Rio was a bit soon. Um, and obviously the lightweight four was still knocking around then. So there was more options. Um, but I knew that that's what I wanted, but I don't think it really became a reality until probably late like 2018. I did a lot of under 23 stuff. I think my first year under 23 was 2015. Um, and I went to I think I went in the single that year and came like 18th. It was
Oh yeah,
terrible.
wow.
But I was doing my leaving cert, which is I guess it's A levels for you guys
Yeah, we do something
that
different
year.
then. Yeah, we do hires, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But anyway, I was doing like basically my last school exams that year. So, even going to that, I thought it was going to be great. And yeah, it was really fun. And I will say that I remember watching the finals of those under 23s, being like, I want to be in those finals and winning the medals, even though I didn't get an under 23 medal ever. But I do remember my dad kind of saying he came out to support, and he was sort of saying like, this looks really hard, and, and you were 18, like, are you sure this is what like it's gonna be for you? And then I just I think I knew that I had so much to improve on that it wasn't going to be 18th at least. My best result was not going to be 18th at the under 23 World Championships.
What do you
So,
how did you know you had so much to improve on?
um, I guess just because I was pretty young at the time, obviously my ergs were terrible. I think that year I did like a 634. And you know, at that point, you know what the good guys are pulling. Like I think
Hmm.
Pierre Huan won on 23s that year, and he was definitely sub 6'10". Like I think he did a 605 or 604 or something that year.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
you know how far off you are. And I guess the part about it is that like I knew how far I had to go, but then sorry, is that me?
No
No.
worries, no worries.
Yeah, I knew how far I had to go, but somehow I just thought that it was gonna happen and I was gonna get there. I didn't realize how hard it was gonna be, but I just thought like if I kept training, kept going, then it was gonna come down because that's how it
Cool.
works. Like,
Yeah.
um,
Okay, so that's interesting. Like, it's just interesting coming from less of a sporting background to into this sort of belief. It's interesting to understand like where that belief and confidence comes from, and I don't know, maybe like is it? Do you think a big part of it was being around people doing it before you, or maybe more
yeah,
internal than that? Kind of, I guess, a hard question.
yeah, no, for sure. I think a lot of it was probably like naivety as well. Like I didn't understand how difficult it is to do that stuff and to get faster and to train like that every day. I just sort
Hmm.
of knew that that's what I had to do. And then by the time I had done it, it was like, oh, that was actually pretty hard, but I didn't like think about it beforehand. So it wasn't like this big task looming in front of me. I was just kind of getting through the days and then retrospectively being like, oh shit, that was actually a rough week.
Hmm.
Um, and then just stacking those really, I think is where it came from. But also maybe you're right. I think seeing um people who we were training with and people who our coach was coaching performing really well and improving as well every year. Um, it that kind of I guess solidified the belief that if we just keep doing this, we're bound to improve and get better and start winning medals. So
Okay, so
it
when
took a
you were
while,
in
but
yeah, okay, so like when you were in the weeds of those hard weeks and you mentioned you're just doing it day by day, you'd look back, be like, holy shit, that was like a big week. What was
mm,
the drive? Like how are you approaching getting through those big massive days?
um, when I think when we were younger or when I was younger, it was easier because it was like things that I hadn't done before. So I knew that if I was doing things that I hadn't done before, like if I was doing 24K instead of 20K, then I was gonna it was gonna make me better because I'd never done this before. So if I do it, then it must work. That
Yeah,
it's gonna
more is more.
um push me on. Yeah, yeah. But I didn't realize how far the other way it could go. I remember my first year in uni, I was getting so ill because
Oh, right.
I was just like going out every night and then showing up at the rowing center at like 5 a.m. or half six or whatever, and doing like 31-minute pieces and thinking that was normal.
What was
Like
you
I
weren't on the
actually
whoop? You weren't on the whoop then, were you?
no, not till my later days. Yeah. So, but I just didn't understand, you know. I just thought that if you trained, that was gonna that was gonna make you better no matter what. So
Hmm.
I think I did a lot of learning the hard way, but that happened quite early. So um, I sort of learned those lessons before there was anything um, on the line, you know, anything too big on the line. We were we were trying to get a lightweight four together that year. I think it was 2016 for the qualifiers, and I did a good bit of training in it. Um, but yeah, obviously, you know, as I said, I think my erg score that year was like 634. So you know, it was never going to happen for me. But it was just that naivety of you know, doing stuff that I hadn't done before and just trying to push the boundaries. And then once I'd recovered from that stint of stupidity, I had that in the bag, and I knew that that's probably not a great thing to do. but
Yeah.
I could manage the training. So if I could actually recover from that training, then I guess it was kind of likely that I'd keep improving.
Yeah, and I guess maybe any younger rowers out there, like sometimes kind of if it's of interest to you and you want to go on nights out or whatever with your friends, especially maybe when you're 18 or first year university, that it's not in the long term gonna ruin you. Obviously, the short term, but if it's
Yeah,
something that you would enjoy and get out your system. I remember before I started rowing, I had one summer where I went out, no sports, went out every weekend, and I just got so bored of it. I was like, this is not fun anymore.
yeah,
I'm just doing it for the sake of it. So realizing that rather than, training and committing and wondering what it'd be like if you
for
did it,
sure.
it's good to
Yeah, and
do
I
it as
think
well.
that was part of probably why it didn't take me too long to get out of that because that was me when I was 15 or 16 and that was all I was doing. Like I didn't have anything
Hmm.
else. So I was just going out with friends then and realizing that I needed something else and I wanted something else and like something bigger. Um so I would say I probably got that out um of my system quite young, but you need the odd reminder now and then, like definitely, especially even in recent years, had a few blocks of prioritizing having fun over rowing. But I think that's just how I work. Like
Mm.
sometimes you need a reminder, don't you?
Yeah, everybody works different, I guess. I read Tim Foster's book and he talked about how he would tactically. Have you read it?
No, but I've
All
met
right. Yeah.
Tim.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
he's a
great
cool
book.
guy.
He gives
Yeah,
great insight into the four for Sydney, and he talked about how he would use going on nights out as like a tactic to be a better rower. I took that too literally. I had another phase when I went back and I was just like, I'm the kind of guy who just needs nights out. And like every weekend I was just going out and getting wrecked and stayed injured and stayed ill and stayed where I was. So
yeah.
I took that too, so you can go too much, but yeah, like throughout the year, it's important if you want to do it. Um,
Yeah, for sure.
cool.
Especially when the stakes are low, I think um, you know, like you have to appreciate those things in life too and just spend time with your pals and sometimes that's like although it's not great for you like it's the only time you're going to be able to like
Mm,
be on their level and spend time with them if that's the only your only opportunity then I think it's well worth sacrificing a morning of training just to keep them in your life and keep that side of things going.
mm. It sounds like you maybe had a better approach to balance than I did. I was kind of all into nights out or all into to rowing. I struggled to do both, but yeah, I mean, regardless, both situations, you were still doing 24K sessions. I think that's something people struggle with is once they bring in that lack of sleep or recovery, then the training takes a
Yeah.
hit. But okay. So yeah, you narrowly missed out on that four spot for Rio, and then was it kind of um
Oh, it wasn't narrowly.
narrowly? Okay,
Yeah,
convincingly?
no,
Yeah.
not narrowly whatsoever. I
Yeah,
think they
six
were
thirty
like, this
four.
is,
Yeah.
yeah, not ideal. But we did go to under 23s that year in the quad and came fifth. So that was sort of a nice boost to be in the final. And I guess,
Do you know Gavin Horsburgh at all?
yeah,
Yeah, I'm friends with Gavin.
you
Yeah,
raced him that year.
yeah, that's what I was wondering. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, cool.
they won the cup that year.
All right. Yeah, cool. No, I was just wondering a little bit of a tangent there, but okay. So yeah, under 23s, and then when they came back, was it quite competitive selection for that lightweight double for Tokyo?
Um, Not really, to be honest. Like, I think in 2017 and 2018, we kind of were reserved to the fact that it was the lads in the double, and we were sort of just getting through the under 23 um days. I actually broke my wrist that summer in 2017, so we were kind of aiming for the quad again. Um, and they ended up getting medal actually, the guys. But that year in the summer, I broke my wrist, so I only got back in the boat like 3 or 4 weeks before the under 23s. So
Mm.
I ended up getting selected in the double for that with my brother Jake. And we
Oh,
raced Gavin
cool.
again that year actually in the double.
Oh, who was
Um,
it? Did you know James Temple as well?
yeah, I think they were together that year.
JT. Yeah, yeah. Here,
Yeah,
his
we had a
HR, I know you're a Whoop
absolute.
guy. His HRV, highest HRV, he hit 220.
Jesus.
Yeah, he's a
What's
freak.
the RHR though?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I'll
Okay.
ask him. I'll ask him and let you know. But
Yeah,
sorry, I
that's
get a
fair.
tangent. But okay, yeah,
No,
race.
we've got a girl on our team as well, Aoife. She hits some crazy high HRVs as well.
Yeesh.
Um, good thing it's individual, huh?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, I don't think you can compare too hard, but what were we talking about? Oh yeah. Um,
the double, yeah.
yeah. We we had actually a six semi against those guys that year. It was one of the hardest races of my life. But yeah, so we came seventh there in the double as well, which was, or no, we came eighth actually, I think. Um, but it was, another step on like Olympic event. The like Gary and Shane had done under 23s in the double a few times as well, and they'd been, I think, 10th or 12th and 10th. So we kind of thought, oh, like we're not doing too bad. We're ahead of where they were when they were that age. And then 2018 was really the year that um we pushed on a lot in the double. We kind of decided, look, it's our last year under 23. We might as well just try and go together. So ended up getting selected, and we did a few races against Gary and Paul that year where we came very close. Um, and they were obviously world champions that year. So we kind of knew that there was something there. We ended up messing up under 23s. And coming fifth, but like again, kind of another step on and in the final. And we'd had some really good races against the guys. So it was sort of, there's a bit of hope there, a bit of promise. And then the following year, 2019, was kind of the one where we thought, like, we were both in our last year of uni. And we knew that Paul was starting his medical degree that year, I think. So we knew he would be out for the Europeans that year because they were quite early. They were in May, I think exams were going to be on. And
Yeah.
then Gary went to New Zealand for training that winter. So we kind of just said we'd stay in the double, keep training. Dominic took us on a few camps to Spain, and we sort of said, look, we don't have under 23s anymore, so we'll target the Europeans and just see if we can get selected and see how good we can do there. So went to Europeans that year and ended up coming fifth um, in the seniors, which was pretty a big step up for us. Like we were
Yeah.
buzzing that we even made the final.
What do you think?
I
What
think,
was any big changes, or is it just kind of like higher stakes and just naturally upped it?
yeah, I think we were just focused on it.
Focus more.
Like we weren't probably too much faster than we were the year before in terms of like well physically we probably pushed on a bit and I often ask myself that I think like honestly I probably had like a last little hit of puberty that year because I
Yeah.
did drop from I think I dropped from like a 619 to like 613 that year.
Yeah. What, like
So and
22, 23?
yeah, 22.
Yeah.
So we were doing a lot of training though, like um I think we definitely were hitting when we were on camp anyway, we were definitely over the 250, 260 mark
Ooh.
um for
In
those
the
weeks.
boat.
So
All in the boat.
yeah, yeah, in the double.
Yeesh.
And we did a bit of singles as well. Um so we were training pretty hard. But then we'd come home and have uni stuff to do. So then the following few weeks would be like I don't know, 100K or something. So it was probably unbeknownst to us working out that like we do a big block, recover from it, then
Yeah.
go away again not a big
That's
block.
cool to hear. That's super
Um,
interesting. Sorry to kind of stop you there, but like, I
yeah,
remember
yeah, no
something
worries.
that really changed it for me is one hearing about how cyclists do that long term kind of phases. But then Robbie Manson, you hear 2017 when he broke the world record, how what
Yeah,
10 weeks before he had 10 days off. And
yeah,
he said that that was a big thing for him, being able to hit his peak form was being rested. Because with rowing, it's just so often like more and more and more and more and more, and you never get to catch your breath. So that's crazy. That's super interesting. Um,
yeah. But we didn't realize it at the time. Obviously, we were just kind of saying, "Look, we'll be in Spain for these 2 weeks. We'll just make the absolute most of it, get the most out of the water that we can, and then come home and try and do what we can around it." Um, but yeah, it ended up working pretty well. And then after that, Europeans, we did some seat racing for the double, and then me and Paul got put together, and then we ended up winning world champs that year. So yeah, it was pretty crazy from there on out, to be honest.
but I mean, just from the outside again, like maybe too direct of a question, but like that must have been kind of intense, that, right? Like two sets of, brothers from the same hometown going to get like, I guess some environments can be quite a bit more open with it and more friendly. There, I find it hard to believe that like there wasn't some tough tension in that situation.
Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of tension, like we were because we've done so much training together since we were kids. Like it
Mm.
didn't really feel like any different. The only difference
Yeah.
was where we were swapping partners. So like obviously before it would have just been me and Jake training against Gary and Paul, but whereas now, I might have a go with Gary one day and Jake another day and Paul another day. So it didn't really feel
Okay.
any different to training usually. Um, and then obviously around the trials, you're nervous as fuck, or I was back then. So
Yeah.
because it was like my shot.
How did
But I
you,
think
so
that
yeah, nerves then. How did you how do you go about coping with nerves in those situations?
back then was pretty bad. Uh, and I sort of just fumbled through it. A lot of the time, like I kind of just rock up to the start line and be like, "Oh, look, it'll be over in 6 minutes. Just dig in and see what you can do." Uh,
Okay.
yeah, like it was probably not very good for me for a while. Like I remember we did a World Cup, our first World Cup with Paul in Rotterdam. Um, It was so rough, and I just remember being so scared and pumped full of adrenaline because I was like, I'm not going to be able to row with this. I'm going to fuck it all
Yeah.
up. Um, and I remember saying to myself, like, look, just get through the race and you can quit after. Like, you don't have to ever go through this again.
I don't feel like this is, I'm trying to get like your insight into like what worked well. I feel like that's maybe not the best approach for people.
Yeah, oh, definitely not. No, then I ended up like I knocked the speed coach out of the boat. We had to stop, get the speed
Ooh.
coach, start going again.
Ooh.
Um, It was crazy that race. And it's like my first international medal as well. So it was like it was insane. We I think we lost to the Germans by like 0.01 in that World Cup.
Oh, that's
And
right.
that's kind
Vincent
of
Osborne, yeah.
but that was sort of the learning for from that race was that like okay, imagine if you hadn't fucked yourself up and been so nervous
Yeah.
what you could have done. So from there on out, I think I kind of made a conscious effort to sort of like probably avoid thinking about what the result would mean,
Okay.
um, and just focus on like getting through the warm up, getting through the
Yeah.
um, like we'd have a specific enough warm up where you do a little block of work, a few bursts, and just thinking about like, okay, just do this
Next
burst,
step.
do the next burst, get onto the start line, line up the boat, do the first 5 strokes, and just for probably a good few years, that was probably how I approached it. Then just not think about anything other than the process of weighing in, eating food, drinking, warming up, racing. And then I would say it probably wasn't till after Tokyo that um it just didn't feel like there was any pressure anymore. And
Really?
it was just fun to rock up and race and show what you can do. Because when you rock up that you're going fast. Like, coming to a race that we did some like world record 1Ks the week before. So it's not going to be bad.
What time can you
Um,
share what times you did for the 1Ks and the double? Sub three?
I think our best I think we did a 2:58 once. And that was our best.
That's quick,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, the Sinkovic's did
Uh,
2:59, did they? And when they went sub, yeah, well, they obviously did
Yeah,
2:59 if they
they
went
did.
sub six,
I'm
yeah.
not sure what they did for the 1K, but I think yeah, they
Must,
did two. Yeah, 5:59 was the world record, wasn't it?
yeah, so they obviously must have gone under three on one of them. That was a stupid question,
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah, but we were hitting those speeds like I guess after Tokyo.
Yeah, but was it with
So
the Dam Open in Cork?
yeah,
Yeah. Maybe
100%.
that's why you're so confident going into the races.
Yeah, yeah, maybe. Um, you can never tell really though. Obviously, but you need
Hmm.
those
Yeah.
conditions to hit times like that anyway. Like with rowing, it's kind of like irrelevant really.
Yeah.
Um, Even in Tokyo, with the salt water and like the massive, massive tailwind, that's when we set the world record. But then again, like that year in Amsterdam was crazy too. So it's like it's I don't know. I guess the time is a bit irrelevant when you kind of think of it like that.
Hmm. Okay.
Obviously, it's cool to be the fastest ever, but yeah, I don't know. It's funny. You kind of just have to race the conditions, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Um, right. So like what was it? I've seen the interviews, more interviews with Paul and Gary and stuff like that. Just generally is they're come across pretty relaxed. You come across pretty relaxed. Has that kind of been like continuous since you guys were young and you got older, or maybe when you were nervous in Rotterdam, where was like being around Paul, was he kind of a bit more calm and you could like learn things from him? So kind of my question is, were you picking up anything from Paul when you came into the double with him?
Yeah. So much. And I think I probably didn't realize it until a bit later on, but even like it's hard to know where to start because I guess at this
Yeah.
point I'm like, oh, my whole like career is probably based on Paul's approach, but he's I guess training for first of all in training, I just learned a lot about like training hard and training right and
Yeah.
training. Um,
How does he train? Or how did you guys train?
we trained really fucking hard that year.
Yeah, like
Um,
what, again, you don't have to go into details and stuff, but like what
yeah.
is that?
No, I mean like
250K
we probably
weeks.
oh yeah, like 300 sometimes and
Yeesh.
400 in more recent years.
400.
But yeah, but
400.
that was only last year, and I think it didn't really do me any favors to be honest. But
400K a week. Were you
yeah,
guys
we
on the
did hit
bikes?
that. What I hit that 1 week last year. What can you do? But
400K a week. How do you do that? You just row a lot and eat a lot
mm,
and sleep a
I
lot.
think yeah, that was when we were on camp in Seville. So it would have been like I think my worst day there was we got up in the morning, did 36K in the double, did weights, went to sleep, got up again and did another 34K in the evening. Um, and obviously eating loads in between and fueling during. But I think that was probably my biggest day ever. Um, but then again, I only managed it for a week, so I can't really say we were doing 400K per week, and it was
Yeah.
really hard. And we won the Olympics. Like it was very much, I guess, just experimenting because we had more time last year because Paul took the year off uni, or no, he finished uni. Sorry, in 2023. So we had all last year basically in the double.
Hmm.
Um, had a bit more time to like fiddle around with things, like fiddle around with training, with with everything really. But anyway, to answer your question, that first year we kind of just went really hard at training. And I think now we're much more reserved in terms of making sure we're in the right zone and um, getting the benefit of the session and targeting that rather than going as fast as we can all the time. But
So hold up, hold up.
uh,
Were you doing when you did that 70K day, were you also doing that like hard?
no, no,
Oh, okay, okay.
that's like UT2. But I
Right.
will say we can go pretty fast at UT2 in the double.
What splits?
Um, like sub 150 when we're going well.
Ooh, that is pretty quick.
Yeah, in like the 140s in I don't know what Paul's heart rate would be for that, but we might be like if it's cold, if it's a nice day, you'd be in the like 140s, low
Wow.
150s. Just cruising sub 150. It's pretty nice feeling.
Yeah, yeah, I
Uh,
bet you that felt sweet.
yeah, but where was I? I can't remember where I was going with this. I always do this, but
No, it's all good. Yeah, experimenting. I kind of find it's more interesting that way to kind of just go with with what
yeah.
makes sense. But yeah, okay. So yeah, you're experimenting and learning from Paul, and you kind of said as well you felt like it came a little bit more from Paul some of the ideas, and then how did that relationship evolve
Yeah.
as you guys? I guess obviously Paul silver medalist, you under 23, so that's always going to be the dynamic. But yeah, how did you guys work together?
Well, I think that was definitely the first year. Definitely 2019, that was the dynamic. I was like just soaking everything up and busting my ass to like try and make the boat go fast. And then we, after the World Champs that year, we sort of all went back into singles and we're getting ready for the selection for Tokyo that year. So we had me, Jake, Gary, Paul, and Shane O'Driscoll all going for the double in 2020. So we kind of just about got to the point where we were going to start the trials, and then COVID hit. So we didn't end up doing those, and then um, I think I decided then that year that I was gonna try and do the single for the Europeans that were postponed till October because um, Paul went back to uni, finished off his second semester. Um, and then everyone else just kind of had a bit of a COVID year, I think.
Yeah.
Jay got injured. So I ended up coming back and just, I think, learning a lot about my own physiology and my own body that
Oh
summer
yeah.
as well. Through experimenting, really, like trying out different
Cool.
sessions. And I knew I really wanted to go quick in the single just to get that, get something behind me and get that confidence. Um, so that the next year wouldn't be too bad for Tokyo and give me a bit of a leg up in terms of trials and stuff.
So what did you,
Um,
anything you learned about your physiology, anything you played around with? Yeah.
um, yeah, I think or what did I do that summer? Like I definitely pulled back a lot on the steady stuff, which in hindsight was probably detrimental actually. But it was just the fact that, you're erging in the living room. There's only so much steady state you can do.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Sometimes,
so
yeah, I've
to
I've heard it like a good way of putting it is sometimes the best training program is the one you haven't done yet as well. So yeah, kind of COVID, like I guess lower stakes. It gives you that opportunity to do that. But
yeah, and I think it was like I was motivated to get on and do 6 8 minute pieces more than I was motivated to sit on and do
70K.
30K. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
No, yeah.
So like did a lot of that. And then once I got back in the boat, started doing the steady there. But I think I always knew, but definitely figured out that year that the sort of middle intensity stuff I'm not good at, but the training does suit me. Like around that threshold, um, if if I can, because I think my threshold sits quite low in terms of like my overall capacity.
Okay.
Like all my 5K and 6K stuff is actually atrocious if you compare it to um even lightweight guys. It's very substandard, but my 2K is always pretty good. So I guess that anaerobic reserve is one of my strengths. So,
Yeah.
but from doing that stuff, I learned that if I can if I can even get my threshold up like 10 or 20 watts from where it sits naturally, that actually gives me way more wiggle room in the middle of a
Yeah.
race, um, to like kind of cruise rather than being on the red line the whole time. I can kind of sit under it a little bit and be on good race speed rather than caning it for the whole thing and not having anywhere to go, which ended up happening to me in the Europeans that year in 2020. I was winning till like the 1500, and then Christopher Brune and Niels Tari just came straight through me, and ended up getting bronze. But that was probably a big learning, was that middle pace um, correlates a lot to how good my middle intensity stuff is. And I was measuring most of that on the erg at that point, which
Mhm.
is it's a really good way of measuring it, but because when you're on the erg, it's like 6 minutes for a 2K. It's you don't never really know how it's gonna pan out when it comes to like a singles race when it's
Mhm.
nearly seven, or even like a doubles race. If it's slow, it's at least 6:30. So you're adding on another chunk. So kind of bringing that, um, I guess bringing measuring those intensities into the boat in more recent years has really sort of narrowed down how much better I need to get at certain intensities, if that makes sense. I don't
Yeah,
know if that.
yeah, it definitely does. Yeah, that's and I love to hear about the experimentation and stuff like that. What about you seems like you have a lot of freedom to kind of play around and tinker with things from athlete to athlete, crew to crew. Like, is that kind of the approach? Obviously, Irish rowing has friggin' shot up since 2016. Do you think
Mm.
that's one of my questions I did have noted down was like, what do you think it is that's that you guys are doing in Ireland that is producing some of these results?
Yeah, I think that's definitely been our approach. Um, like we're, I think, like I have a physiology degree as well, so I'm quite
Oh, cool.
interested in all that side of stuff anyway, and I always have been. And Paul's pretty similar, so we often even do separate training, in terms of experimenting. And Paul might say, "Oh, I need to work on this for this block," whereas I might need to work on something different. So we'll kind of alter sessions,
That's
and
kind
do
of
them
how
in a
the Kiwi
single or
pair
double.
worked, right? Like they would do their
I
morning
think
boat
so.
session. Yeah.
Yeah,
Have
I
you read
think I
that
heard
book?
something like that. Yeah, I have. And I actually
Yeah.
do, like, obviously not to compare myself against them. They're obviously the goats, but I think there are a lot of similarities there between I guess even the dynamic. I think me and Paul like in work in similar ways. Um, but we're actually separate from the heavyweight guys, so we don't really say, so as the lightweight men's double and lightweight women's double, Dominic until now has coached the lightweight group. Um, so that's sort of allowed us to do all that, I guess, experimentation. And then um, the heavyweight guys have had big success with the high performance director from the previous two cycles now. So yeah, it's just kind of proving that like there's no one way to do it really.
Hmm. Yeah. Interesting. Interesting. Okay. Okay. So, what do you think it was about you guys that made you so dominant in the most competitive, one of the most competitive events? throughout, like yeah, throughout. I've been betted on you guys. That's I
Oh,
never
good.
bet. Yeah. And
Yeah, I don't
actually it
know.
was I did the acculator or whatever and in Tokyo, and it was yeah, I was the only person in our group to break even. But I had you guys down. I put a few down all, and I had you guys down as like certain
Yeah, I've heard that
likely
a
to
lot
win.
actually. I've heard who let you down, or can you say?
Oh no, who oh it was the singles. It was the singles. When
Oh yeah, yeah,
Nitsukos won. I'd hedged my bets. I had all my different options, all different possibilities. I had a huge spreadsheet. I had you, the Sinkovich brothers. I can't remember who I had. Oh,
Dutchman squad maybe.
yeah, Dutchman squad. There was some of the women's crews as well were pretty. I think I
Chinese
had the
women's squad were pretty good back
yeah.
then
I
too.
had I had them down to win. And then I had rotated a few options, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, we're gonna make so much money!" And everybody lost money apart from me. I made like
Yeah,
£10.
that Tokyo Crab
Yeah, yeah,
disaster.
yeah, brutal. And yeah, I think I had the men's at the. I didn't have the Kiwi men's eight to win, so that
Yeah, yeah,
screwed
yeah.
everything. Um, anyways,
No, yeah,
anyways,
that was
not promoting
crazy to
gambling.
gather.
Don't do it. It's stupid. But
Stay
um,
away from gambling.
yeah, terrible disclaimer there.
Um,
But okay,
yeah,
yeah, like yeah. Sorry to go back to the question. What did you
yeah.
any idea on like
Uh,
what you guys did that made you so good?
Um, I mean, like we have lost races as well since. So I wouldn't say like we're super, super dominant, but I think we just know how to get it right on the days that are important. And um,
How do you get it right on the days that are important? What's your approach to that?
I think like I said before, it like change year to year. Like we each had different priorities, I think, since Tokyo, and um, j just allowing like aside from rowing, like I don't think it was anything we did in like anything specific in terms of
Right.
like training or being really good at weights or being good on the erg or anything like that that kind of set us apart. But the way I see it is that like it it is kind of a talent to get it right on the day, right? Like and know how to set things up so that on the day it really matters, you're going to be able to win and perform. And I think that's probably what I'm good at anyway. Obviously, Paul is like super crazy talented in terms of physiology and rowing and all that. But for me, I think I could probably I would probably lose most days if it was just a random day during the year. But I
Oh yeah.
know how to
Yeah.
build myself up to be super good during that week. So um I think yeah, that's it. That's it pretty much. Like we approach it so differently from year to year. In 22, we didn't train together at all in the double. Like we hopped into the double on the Friday before World Championships and started racing on the Sunday.
Really?
And yeah, um, and then 23 didn't get in the boat until June, I think. Um, and that was just because we both had different things going on. Like Paul was very invested in getting through med school. So that was so he was in school pretty much those 2 years. So I had a bit of freedom to kind of do another COVID year really in terms of training for me
Hmm.
in 22 and got to do the single, race a bit more in the single. I think I ended up getting down to like a 6:44 in the single, pretty good conditions mine, but um so learned a lot again about sculling and about getting myself better that year so that we could just hop in and do well. And then 23 was different again, like didn't have a great winter. Um, prioritized probably partying a bit too much that year while Paul finished his degree, and then we sort of got together in May and said, look, we've got 8 weeks um to qualify. Um, and then just sort of because everything was out of the way, that just allowed us to go all in for those 8 weeks. And obviously, we know from years gone by what works and what doesn't work. But it's I think we're probably not afraid to take calculated risks,
Mm, okay,
and
yeah.
and in that those short time periods, say, okay, well, like we've only got this much time, and last year I don't think we got much out of this, so let's just try this now and see if it's
Really?
working. And usually it does work, because I think training works. It's not like you'd have to be doing something absolutely insane to go backwards from training differently or training more, I think. And especially when it's such a short time period, like 8 weeks, I know is isn't like a whole season. So you're probably going to see gains from even like super hard stuff before you start breaking down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, I guess it's probably just getting it right in that lead up period and during the week too. I think in terms of racing, then now we've just done so many races that we know what it is supposed to feel like, and we know how to get there. Um, Whereas I don't know if that's how it works with other crews. Like
Yeah.
I will say I haven't raced in any other crew that feels like that. Like it's actually insane. In the middle of a race, I'm like, this is so much fun. It's so even when we're losing, it feels so good. Like that race in Lucerne, last year was so difficult because I had a period of pretty bad sickness before. Like I was out for 3 weeks, and we just said we'd try Lucerne and see how we get on. And it was so hard. I was feeling like obviously really out of breath because I hadn't done any training, but the feeling of the boat is um I think it just works. Like the technique, something we do together that I probably
Cool.
hadn't thought about too much before. But since Paris, I think I've been thinking a lot about like what actually does make us go fast. And you can tr we obviously train really hard and work really hard, but I think there is probably an X factor in just how the boat moves when the two of us are in it.
Yeah.
Um,
Cool. That's the fun. I
I
think
wish I could tell you.
if you could quantify that though, that would be maybe make it boring and
Yeah.
less exciting. If you can explain the numbers behind why it's moving quick, then yeah,
I
that's
mean,
the
if you look at
excitement.
the biomechanics, I think um, the biomechanist always says that our front end is one of the best that she's seen.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Catch and like
so I
leg
think
drive or just the leg drive?
yeah, the connection, like the boat accelerates
Slip.
pretty much straight away. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Do you
Um,
what's your slip?
I think it's like two maybe.
Two.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's so like
It's,
again I can't remember like what being under six is pretty good, right? Like being under 6 or 7 is good.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that I remember when we were doing it, that was the gold standards most of the time. I think yeah, most of the
I think
guys when I
I
was in GB it was like around 9, 8 to 12.
yeah, I think we've got pretty good catch slip.
Two.
My finish slip is terrible though. It's like 15 or something.
What was
But
Paul's finish slip? Because he gets the hands up very early.
yeah, I can't remember, but it's definitely not as good as the catch. I remember her
That's
saying that
interesting. Wow.
so like the slip, obviously the catch slip is good, and then also if you look at the acceleration profile, the boat pretty much gets going straight away. Like there's not
Wow.
I'm probably butchering this, but um you know how sometimes it's quite gradual, like
Yeah.
the initial like spike on the
Yeah.
acceleration curve. Ours pretty much like goes straight
Straight
up.
up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, cool. I'm gonna go and look
Um,
at some footage of you guys and be confused. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, I'd be like,
cool.
this looks terrible. What are you
No, no, I
talking
didn't mean it like that, but just like try to figure out how did you
about?
get a catch that is two? That's crazy, crazy. That's cool. Okay, yeah, well, yeah. So that X factor, but who knows? Maybe that kind of comes from you. You seem to have quite a like relaxed approach to it, where there's not that overthinking and there's not that analytical side of it. So maybe that's kind of what's allowing you to have that. So okay, cool. And again, yeah, I don't want to keep you too late. I know you'll be up training tomorrow, with another 70K day or something. But yeah, I just wanted to hear like what's
No,
the kind
I haven't touched those for a long time now.
of fair.
Haven't touched those for ages, yeah.
Yeah, bro. Yeah.
And I
But
probably will never again, but we'll see.
yeah, yeah, who knows? Who knows? But cool. Okay, so like what is the talk us through again, we chatted at the beginning. I might clip some of it and add it in, but just yeah, tell us what the kind of next what your approach to rowing right now is.
Um, I think like had obviously a bit of time off since Paris and came to I think I just came to appreciate that it's like such a cool thing to do. And
Yeah.
um like it's it's a job, I guess, at this point, but at the same time, what a cool job. Like I wouldn't want to be doing anything else. Like it is actually living the dream. And I know it can be hard, but I think there's like a little part of me that um actually enjoys the training and the
I
day
love
to day of it
training.
and like hang out with your friends.
Yeah.
And you know when it works, like when the training's working,
Yeah.
there's no better feeling. You're like, holy shit, I think I've hacked this. Um
Yeah.
and obviously, there are times where it goes terrible and it's you want to quit and pack it all in. But yeah, if I can avoid those, I think or avoid, obviously they come all the time, those bad days. But I think if I can minimize them and just keep enjoying it, then I don't think there's much left to prove. Like I've done a pretty good job so far, so I just want to see how how far I can go when there's no limits on
Yeah.
on food, on restrictions, and like fair enough, might get slower, might never be as fast again, but it'll be fun to try it anyway. So I think that's
Yeah.
how I'm going to approach it. Obviously, would love to be in LA, would love to be winning more medals, but nothing's guaranteed, really, is it? So you just kind of gotta roll with it.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. I remember a cool way I heard it put was I had Georgie Brayshaw on who won the
Oh
quad
yeah.
and yeah, and she said her first one it was like she was winning the goal to kind of prove that she could do it to people and to herself as well, and then it was much more the second one. It's like I want to do it for me now again, and it's kind of like liberating. You have that freedom, so sounds maybe kind of similar
Mm.
to you, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, maybe. I think maybe yeah, it could be in a different order. Like the first one for me was definitely like you're good at this. Like you can do it. And then I remember really wanting to be able to appreciate like the people around me and the process the second time round. Which I think I did a pretty good job of. So now I kind of just want to like yeah, I guess enjoy it even more.
Yeah, yeah, it's fun, and yeah, you're only ever gonna get to do it now. So, the way I always described it to people was, it's like having PE 3 times a day, and you're at school, and you have lunch break in between each of your classes, and it's like 30 of your friends in the class. So, it's not real
Yeah.
life, but it's just so
Yeah,
fun.
it's not real life at all, but it's so good. Like
Yeah,
I want to
yeah,
avoid real life for as long as possible.
yeah.
I think that's probably why I'm still going, but what can you do?
What do you, so do you think, sorry, I know I said we'd wrap up, but could you see yourself getting into coaching with the physiology and the interest in it, or maybe something totally different?
I think so. Like I'm doing a master's at the moment in coaching, in performance
Oh,
coaching.
cool.
Um, so once that's finished, like I don't know if I'd go straight into it. Like I
Yeah.
might try and figure out something else to do after I'm done rowing for a while, but I honestly probably do see myself coming back to it because I think it's like whether I like it or not, it's a part of me now. Like I'm a rower.
Yeah.
It's that identity is solidified. So I'll probably be involved in some capacity. And I just would love to give back. I think I got so much from the sport. Like personally, even like in terms of life and being a full-time athlete is pretty cool. So I would love to give back and like see other people get even like a small bit of what I got out of the sport would be cool. So I do see myself involved after in some capacity, but I'm just not sure yet.
Well, yeah, I mean, hopefully, I mean, certainly, actually, and you being on this podcast and sharing some of your journey to the people that are listening is one way of you doing that. So really, really appreciate it. I'm sure the listeners as well, really, really appreciate it as well. I find it so interesting, get these different insights and hear some of the best rowers, different, very, very different approaches to training. So you guys certainly super unique, I think, approach from what I've seen anyway. So
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
I think
really,
so. Like you, especially I find when I'm talking to other people, it's like it seems very regimented and very like you're part
yeah,
of the program in the big countries, especially, which does, I
yeah,
guess, work. There's results, but I think I probably wouldn't last in that scenario just because I would be so overlooked. I think like I'm
yeah.
really not anything special when it comes to the
Minus the two
training
Olympic
and
gold medals and the yeah. Well, yeah, that's yeah, yeah,
you know
yeah.
what I mean? But like on the day to day, very average. Um, so I think would probably struggle. So I'm so grateful that this is the setup I've grown up in and been able to like figure it out for myself and figure out how I can make me fast rather than just trudging along and hoping for the best. But
Awesome. Okay, well, maybe we could finish off with like one piece of advice that you'd maybe give to somebody who's at a club, they're being overlooked, maybe there's a bit of a system, or they're maybe a bit on their own, but for whatever reason they feel like they don't have ability to progress for whatever that is for them in any races. Maybe what would you say to them with the aspirations that they have?
um, I think you do have to be like honest with yourself. Um, like it's it's really hard when it's not going well, but it's probably then where you have to really dig in and say, okay, what am I actually doing here that isn't serving me? Like I'm not getting better for a reason. Like why is that? And really trying to figure it out rather than just kind of surrendering to like the hopelessness of it.
Hmm.
Um, because I think that's where a lot of people do get caught. Like you could be right on the edge of making a breakthrough, but because things aren't going well, you kind of just pack it all in and throw in the
Yeah.
towel. So, I would say just be so relentless in that like self analysis and ask people questions. Like you're not going to have all the answers, but if you can reach out to people, it doesn't have to be rowers. It could be like, physiologists or
Yeah.
coaches,
Cycling
whoever it is.
coaches or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, anyone. Like, I don't know, message me, whatever. Just, ask
Might
people.
regret asking that. You might regret saying that.
No, I get
100
like,
DMs that day.
I get so many DMs to me. Like, I have a 8 minute 2K. How am I gonna get to 6 minutes in like a year? But,
Yeah.
um, there's just so many different I guess yeah. So be honest, just be constantly like looking for the answers, even if you don't have them. And
Yeah. Just be a student. Yeah.
yeah, I think that's it really, because that's all I did.
Yeah.
Um,
Cool.
and yeah, keep it up, keep hanging
And,
in there.
and
It'll
just and
come eventually.
just do 400K a week.
Yeah, it's easy.
Simple. Simple. No, kidding
It
on.
actually is simple. It's just difficult.
Yes, that's true. That's a good way of putting it. I like that. It's simple, but
Yeah,
it's difficult. I'm gonna put that steal that quote. But yeah.
yeah.
Okay, Fintan, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your insight. So much value there, and just refreshing. I think that was a big thing is refreshing perspective on performance sport and somebody that has just had found their own approach to being the best in the world at something. So. Again, thanks for
Thank
coming on and finding the time on a Friday night. And yeah, all the best for your training. I'm excited to follow and see how your LA Olympiad looks. And
Oh God, hopefully, yeah, hopefully it'll go all right. But I think we'll be okay if it doesn't. So
yeah,
yeah, thanks
awesome.
for having me, and thanks for everything you guys are doing as well. It's really cool to see like the free stuff, and I think there's probably a lot of similarities between um what how I how I would approach training and what you guys are kind of preaching. So that's cool to see as well, like that kind of side of things coming through rather than the 3 by 6K
Yeah,
UT2.
yeah. I know. Yeah, it's yeah. I really appreciate you saying that. But yeah, it's cool. Just the more we can put that stuff out there, that people will absorb it and change. The sport will just keep evolving. But
Yeah,
yeah, awesome.
cool.
Cheers, Finton, and
All right.
everybody. Thanks for watching.
Thanks.
Good. Cool. Alrighty. Thank you so much.